they have centers anymore? The game has evolved past that. They do.
It's rarer nowadays, I think, but
just because the ball movement is so much, is that why? Like it's not like dish it into the center, run the triangle.
Yeah, I would say it's not as typical, just like 4 out, 1 in nowadays. But also I feel like centers are just becoming so much more versatile and like practice like.
Hey, and welcome back to the Local 636 podcast. I'm your host, Ed Akers. Joining me this week is Lady Billikens forward Mia Nicastro. Now, Mia is an alum of St. Charles West High School. She's from right here in St. Charles, and she stars on the SLU Lady Bills basketball team, who had an amazing run in the Atlantic 10 tournament last year and made their first ever NCAA tournament. We talk about that. We talk about the dynamics of being a student athlete, traveling, pressure, and a whole lot more. So stay tuned for this episode. All right, and make sure you follow along with everything Local 636. Start by hitting that subscribe button at the bottom and turn on your notification bell so you're always notified when the latest episodes and reels of the Local 636 podcast come out. Also, we are at Local 636 on everything social media, Facebook and Instagram. You can find our online store there, events that we're doing, pop-ups that we're doing, and all of our new merch. Everything is at Local 636. Thanks and enjoy the episode. When we switch into like basketball talk, you seem so like you change.
Really?
Have you been told that before?
I don't know if I have. No, I just just more excited and.
Yeah, I can't even put my finger on it, but there's definitely was like a difference. Not a bad thing, but just like it was definitely more serious. You were like kind of down to it. Like
gotcha.
You're very confident. Not that you're not confident, but you know.
No, I know what you mean.
It just seemed very like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about.
I've never heard that before. No, but thank you. It seems.
Do you have any do you like talking about basketball? Like, do you?
I do. I mean, I think it's just like with any interest that you have, like something that interests you and excites you. It kind of,
Yeah.
You like to talk about it. You like to share your opinions about it. So yeah, I do like talking about basketball.
Do you ever? Could you like come up with plays? Could you get into like coaching, stuff like that?
Personally, I don't want to be a college coach or a high school coach, I guess. I think it's a really cool job, and I have a lot of teammates who want to get into coaching, but when you, like, the amount of work that they do, and you don't really realize it until you become a player and you see, like, the amount of work the coaches put into the scouts and, like, film, and, like, you finish a game and they're watching film for 7 hours on the bus ride home. It's just like, wow. And, like, it's a lot. So I could probably come up with a play or two, but I don't know if I could be a full-on college coach.
I gotcha. Yeah, just the way that, just the basketball IQ, I guess, is what I was looking for. I could tell that kind of kicked in when I asked you that question.
Okay, gotcha.
So I didn't know if there was something bigger where you had bigger plans to use that, or you're obviously very smart. I mean, we talked about what other schools you were recruited to, and you said UPenn, which my idiot ass had never heard of. I'm like, what's UPenn? Right. And then I'm like, oh, University of Pennsylvania. And you go, yeah, Ivy League. So talk about how smart you are. Like, that's what we're here for, right?
No, that's not what we're here for. But
you're a good student.
I am a good student. School's always been really important to me, and it was really important to me, like, in the recruiting process. I really did want a school that had good academics because I do have, high, I think, career aspirations for after, when I hang my shoes up. So I did want a school that was focused as much as it was on academics as athletics. And so when I got the UPenn offer, that was just, I was so grateful for that offer. Like, such a cool opportunity. And the opportunity to go to Ivy is just, like, it was like, wow. Like, I got the call and they offered me, and I was just like, wow, like, this is so surreal. I have the opportunity to go to an Ivy, and I didn't, even apply.
Oh, wow. You didn't even apply there.
You don't have to, like, with the offers, like, you don't.
Okay.
You do have to, if you committed there, you would have to commit to the admissions process, because you do, since it's an Ivy, you
have to be accepted.
You have to be accepted. But the thing about Ivies is they don't offer scholarships the way that normal D1s do, because it's an Ivy.
It's school first.
Yes, it's school first. So, truthfully, I would have loved to go there, but it was, I had full scholarships to other places, and I wouldn't have a full scholarship at Penn. I'd still be paying, a decent amount of money to go. I bet. So,
did you visit there?
I didn't visit because I had a conversation with my parents pretty early on when I got the offer, and they were pretty firm on if you have a full scholarship somewhere else and, you can go for free, we're not going to
Sure.
send you to Penn.
I have parents too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah. That's
no
kinda
athletic
how
scholarship, but I mean,
Right.
yeah, it was like, we're going to go where it's a little bit less
Right.
expensive.
Of course.
I get that. College is expensive.
goes.
So
Yes,
it's
it
nice to
is.
have it mostly paid for, whatever the situation is. It's great.
Very lucky.
Let's go back to high school a little bit. Let's talk about St. Charles West.
Yeah.
You are through and through St. Charles. I mean, St. Charles West it doesn't get much more St. Charles than that.
No.
What was your experience like going there and playing basketball and yeah, you played volleyball as well?
Yes.
What was that like?
Man, I loved St. Charles West, and I got asked once kind of, I got older and got recruited more, why I didn't, go to a private school, like, why I didn't want to go to private, and, they have, and win state championships and, stuff like that. And
Sure.
It was just like, I wanted to go somewhere where, like I could have an impact. Because when the women's basketball wasn't really talked about whenever I was, in middle school. And like, I know if you're from St. Charles, you probably know about Turkey Tip-Off, and I would go to Turkey Tip-Off as a kid. And, it just like women's basketball just wasn't nearly as big as men's basketball. Like no one really cared much about the girls. And I wanted to go to a school where, like something like that could be built. Like, it wasn't already built. And so, I wanted to be kind of part of that rebuilding process. So I did talk about
that.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's the truth.
Was that like pitched to you, like going into high school, or did you just kind of know that this is?
I just kind of knew. I mean, my coach at the time, Angela Poindexter, we've talked about it a little bit before, but she didn't really have any influence on me, like going there and like trying to recruit me there and like stay there. Like, of course, she wanted me to come. But she was going to let me make the decision of what I wanted to do. And I kind of just knew, like, I wanted to go somewhere where, I could be a part of something really special in the rebuilding process. And that was just basketball. But outside of basketball, I loved the school. I loved the people I went to school with. I loved my teachers there. And it's a great school. So
well, that is really cool. And so you did. I mean, you corrected me because on SLU's website it says 2-time for both of these things, but you're saying your memory is 3. So 3-time GAC, which is the Gateway Athletic Conference.
Yes.
3-time champions.
Yes.
And then also 3-time GAC Conference Player of the Year.
Yes. GAC North, I won't say. There's different divisions,
sure.
But yes, GAC North. I know it was 3-time on the GAC North championship because we won our first championship when I was a sophomore.
Okay.
Because I know that for a fact. So it was definitely 3-time. I'm pretty sure it was.
We need to get on this SLU website developer, guys.
I know, right?
We're taking props away from Mia here.
Make some changes.
So, and then 3-time Conference Player of the Year as well,
Yes.
sophomore, junior, senior year.
Yes, I believe so.
That's insane. So you were part of the rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know you were good at basketball? And did you know you were good first, or did your parents or someone else say like?
I think I knew I was good, and my parents were just like kind of, there like supporting me.
Okay.
Like I was never like just like that breakout like athlete. Like I kind of had to work and train to get to where I was. Like I was just never like naturally like the fastest and the best one on the floor at all times, just because like I actually kind of like had to train and get to that position. I'd say I knew I could be good when I was in 6th grade. I started playing club in 6th grade. And I started out on like a really low team, probably averaging like I went to tryouts and they just put me on like the lowest team, and like my parents were upset, like I was upset because I didn't belong there, and it was very obvious.
Yeah.
And so then eventually I got a tryout for like the top team, like the travel top team, and I made that team, and that was kind of like, I think for me like that was like the first time like I proved to myself like I could do something and I could play with the best. And so I think that's kind of where it started.
Okay. So 6th grade.
6th grade, I'd say. Yeah.
When were you tall?
See, I actually grew up shorter. Like I wasn't always. I was a really tall, like baby.
You slouched when I asked that question.
Yeah. Well, I know.
I don't want to harp too much on it because that's like the easy conversation,
Of
and I'm sure
course.
people talk to you about it all the time.
No,
but like, you
you're
hit a
good.
growth spurt at some point.
I did. I mean, my dad is 6'7", so
Okay.
like I always knew I was gonna be tall.
Sure.
I grew up in middle school, more average height, and then I think when I was like a freshman in high school, like I had from 8th grade to freshman year, I think I had like a 5 or 6 inch growth spurt.
Oh, wow.
So like it was.
Did you watch The Last Dance, the Jordan documentary?
Yes.
And they had a thing on Pippen where I think, did you see that, Angel? I think between like his high school senior year and his freshman college year, it was like a foot or something ridiculous.
Wow.
Like he just took off.
Yeah, that was kind of me.
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much.
cool. Okay. So good timing, right? Going into freshman year.
Yeah, it could have been better. And
then you played varsity all 4 years, lettered all 4 years.
Yes, I did.
And then I also have that you lettered in volleyball 4 years in a row.
I did. I love volleyball. My coaches in high school, when I played volleyball, like she really wanted me to play basketball and volleyball in college, like more than anything. And I didn't really start out, like I always knew I was going to play volleyball all 4 years. But I kind of started out as like, like I needed some work. I wasn't like great, but I was still pretty good, for a high school team. And I mean, by the end of my senior year, like I had a pretty good senior year of volleyball. And it was always nice because like with volleyball, like of course I'm going to go every time I step on the court, like I'm going to go out, whether it be basketball or volleyball, like I'm going to go out and give it my all and like do the best I can do. But there just wasn't always that same like pressure there was with basketball because like, with basketball, like everyone's counting on me to do this, my parent, I'm expected by junior, senior year to have 20 points a game, every single game. So it's like with volleyball, it just wasn't.
That's what you averaged?
Well, yes, I did. But with volleyball, it just wasn't the same. It was more if I could just go out and have fun and, enjoy it.
Do you think, obviously they're both team sports, but do you think basketball, I think certainly like if you watch NBA, it's become more of an individual versus individual. Do you think that's why it was like more focus on that? Because you said you were expected to do more. You think that's why?
Yes, in a sense. I just think, especially with high school sports, public high school basketball, you don't get to choose who's on your team. So it's, you kind of have to just play to the strengths of the players you have. And like my strength it was scoring. And so like I was expected to score and well,
you can score the basketball by yourself, really. Yeah. I mean, not ideally, but you can.
You can.
And you can't do that in volleyball.
Right. Very true. Yeah. It definitely I know what you mean about, I do think, watching the NBA and even the WNBA at times, it is just like it can turn into like just basically one-on-one on one. Like
yes. Very much so.
Yeah.
Was there any thought or opportunity to play volleyball at the next level?
I wouldn't say seriously, no. Okay. I did, obviously it crossed my mind, but I don't think I would have. I knew I wanted to play D1 basketball, and I don't think I could have played D1 volleyball, so.
As you don't think you could have played that also, or just
in general. Okay. I think maybe I could have gone D2, I think, but I don't think I could have played volleyball at SLU, just even if I didn't play basketball, I don't think I could have.
Now, are you guys allowed to participate in intramurals or anything like that?
I don't think so. Okay. And even if we were, I probably wouldn't have the time for it.
Just no time, yeah. Okay, that's kind of what I thought. So we talked about your parents, both collegiate athletes.
Right.
And they went to Illinois.
Yes, they
and
did.
I don't know if this was on mic or not, but you kind of grew up an Illini fan.
I did grow up an Illini fan, yeah. My family grew up going to tailgates every year. We'd go to one big tailgate. My dad had 3 other roommates that were on the football team with him. And, between the 4 families, I want to say there's, 16 kids. So, there was a lot of kids.
Oh, cool.
And so we'd all, get together once a year, have a really big tailgate, have kind of a reunion weekend. Yeah. And I looked forward to that, every year growing up because it was such a cool – I'm – even now, that I'm older, I'm really close with his old teammates' kids. And so, cool. They're, family to me. And so it was a cool experience growing up.
Very cool. Was there any pressure to, look into Illinois or?
Yes, there was. I was recruited by Illinois for a while. I was never formally offered by them. But, when I started getting calls from Illinois, oh, my God, my dad, you right when I, said, I think the first time I said, oh, yeah, Illinois is going to call me, just immediately, his face lit up. I mean, yeah, of course he wants me to go to his alma mater, but there was a little pressure, but none serious, you have to go or
just from dad, none from mom at all.
See, my mom's the type of mom just you like do what's best for you. You
Yeah.
know, like we, don't listen to what we say. My dad's the type like, yeah, do what's best for you. But I mean,
But here's what I want you to
here's
do.
what I want you to. Yeah,
That's dads.
Right.
Yeah.
Typical.
Was there pressure like outside, but like internally on you? Like you kind of kicked ass in high school. 21.2 points a game, 8.9 rebounds. That's as a junior. I don't know why SLU has your junior year stats, but I assume your senior year stats were similar.
I think it was about the exact same as that.
Yeah. I mean, you're averaging almost a double-double. Was there pressure like going to that next level, going to college to do well?
Oh yeah. I think a lot of that, like pressure, it could be from external, but it's also, like yourself, like you.
Yeah.
I think this is the case with a lot of college athletes. You are great in high school, and that doesn't mean you're not great anymore when you go to college, but everyone's great when you go to college. So it's who's the best of the great, you know what I mean? So there is that pressure because, especially playing in your hometown, like, I have, family here who's like coming to watch every game.
Yeah.
So like, of course, I want to perform well and prove myself and do well. And I think that's a tough, situation to navigate for a lot of college freshmen.
What's the difference between, so you said everyone's great at this level.
Yes.
So like what separates you? Like what do you have to do to get an edge?
To be honest, I would say the two things are, the first, like you need to find out what you're great at and you need to do that like really well. Like honestly, in college, I would say like in high school you can be like decent at everything and like you're really good. But like in college, like there's very few people who are great at every aspect of the game. Like
Sure.
you and what like you can be great at like rebounding and like putbacks, and like if you're really good at getting offensive rebounds and putbacks, like that separates you from someone else.
And that's what you need to go in and focus on when you're practicing and stuff.
I would say that's a big thing. That took me a while to figure out, but
okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about this, like you were a scorer in high school. Has that translated, or have you found that there's a different role for you now?
Yes, I would say a different role. I would say I still pride myself on my versatility and ability to score, but like that's not, I would say, like if someone asked me like what I do, I wouldn't say like I'm a scorer. Like that's not really my role anymore, at least at this point in time.
And that's what I was gonna say. You're coming off a freshman season, so
yeah, right. It wasn't my really role last year, and it probably won't be this year. We have a great first team preseason pick on our team who's a scorer. She averaged 18 points a game last year, and so it is different, like adjusting to different roles, because you get to college and you realize like this isn't high school, like, and this is a lot different, and you kind of while you may not want to at times, like you kind of just have to be great in the role that you get, and like that's, I think, also how you kind of separate yourself from others at the college level.
I think that's a good lesson for not just a college athlete, but I think anyone.
Yeah.
Is like find out what you're good at and dig in.
Yes.
Right? And like you may not be good at this thing, but that's fine.
Right.
You don't need you to be good at that thing. Be good at this thing that you do, and be great at it.
Of course, yeah.
So you're at, so you mentioned hometown. You mentioned the pressure. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
So obviously you were recruited by other schools. We talked about Illinois and UPenn, and you mentioned another one that you were recruited by. Ultimately, like what led you to stay home and stay close and play for SLU?
Yeah. I always knew, well, I didn't always know. When I started going through the recruiting process and taking visits, I kind of came to the conclusion that I wanted to stay relatively close, like within maybe like a 4 to 5 hour drive.
Okay.
Like I didn't want to fly. Like I just felt that was too much hassle. So I wanted to stay, somewhere I could drive to. And so that took out a few of the options. And so when I went and visited SLU, like what really drew me in was the like equal amount of weight that was put on athletics and academics, I think was a big one for me, because school is really important to me. I knew that I wanted to go to a school where academics were prioritized, and, I would, finish college with a great degree, as well as, a 4-year letters in basketball. And so that was definitely big for me. And also just like, I wanted to go somewhere because, outside the time you're not playing basketball, like you want to enjoy where you're at and the people that you're with. And that was something that also fit for me at SLU. I love my teammates. The campus is beautiful. It's right in Midtown. So it's like there's so much stuff to do, and you can just go through walks like through campus, and like you don't even feel like you're in the city. Like you're it's like kind of secluded from the city, and it's just a really nice school.
It is. It's beautiful campus and buildings, and very cool. And it's nice to be home because you can come and do stuff like this, right?
Of course,
hang out during fall break, hang out with the parents and stuff. You mentioned academics, and that's obviously important to you. Mm-hmm. And so again, I'm going to just get on the SLU website. Gosh, we're going to put them out of business here. So it says business administration is your major. Mm-hmm. Now you just told me that it's accounting, but then you also said that that's not really accurate either.
Well, I am an accounting major. Okay. I just actually declared
it doesn't really matter your first couple of years.
It doesn't.
You're just taking gen eds.
Right, exactly. So it says business administration. I don't really know why. I was business undecided because I was in like the business school, but I didn't know what my like specialty was. So about a week ago, I declared as accounting.
Okay. Congrats.
Thanks. Right. So I'm an accounting major. I'm planning on graduating as a junior in 3 years. So I'm going to graduate with my bachelor's in 3 years, and then
is that like a fast track program, or you just are that good?
I wanted to get as much of a degree. Like I want to go to grad school, and so like I wanted to fit. Like if I can get a year of grad school paid for, like I'm gonna get a year of grad school paid for. And
like eligibility wise, you'd still be able to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I get the 4 years. So I'm getting as much out of those 4 years as I can.
What does that look like as like a number of hours in a semester?
Because we do summer school, and it's not like the highest credit hours we can take is 18. I prefer not to do 18 because it's a lot with basketball and everything. Since we do summer school, it kind of takes a little pressure off of those 18 credit hours. Usually it's 16 to 17 because we have like 15, 5, 3 credits, and then like usually like 1 or 2 1 credits. So that's a
full load. I mean, I was not a Division I or any sort of college athlete, and I struggled at like 15 hours.
Yeah.
So that's impressive.
Thanks. It's it is a lot, but I always tell people like you just kind of get used to it. Like you just kind of get used to the lifestyle and the workload, and I don't know, it just kind of becomes.
You have like tutors and stuff.
We have access to tutors, which is really nice.
You don't need them, of course.
I don't personally use a tutor, but a lot of my teammates do, and like obviously like accounting isn't like some of my friends are like health science majors, and so like they're taking like like orgo, and like they use tutors, which like totally understandable. I would too.
And you may when you get into
right,
like, your
of
major
course,
classes
like some
and
higher classes. But yeah, we have access to tutors, which is great because like sometimes like it's you're missing classes traveling, and like you missed 2 classes, like that's tough to make up in college. It really is, and so it's nice.
Okay, so you go to SLU. What was the landscape like for the basketball program at SLU before you got there? Like, what was the reputation? Mm-hmm. What was,
I would say.
Well, you mentioned they were picked to finish last in the A10 last year.
The 12th. We have 15 teams in the A10.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, no, you're good.
The conference thing, that's on my list, too. We got it, guys. We got to fix this shit. Like, the Pac-12 needs 12 teams. The Big 10 needs 10. The Big 12 needs 12.
I know,
like, what are we doing?
It's crazy.
Why?
It's crazy.
Why don't we just call it the A15?
Yeah.
I know the A10 sounds better. I know it's what people are used to, but there's 15 fucking teams in there.
Agreed. I totally agree with you.
Okay, so there's 15 teams.
You were picked teams.
When you said you were picked to finish 12th, I just assumed that was last.
That was the last,
so
right.
It's not last.
Not last, but
you didn't finish last.
You did not finish last.
You guys won the tournament.
Yes.
But so what was that kind of the general vibe? Was they were kind of middle of the pack to the end of the pack?
They weren't always like I think they just had a tough year before, like the year before. They weren't always like they had a couple years before that like a streak of like winning seasons, and I think there was an NCAA. Actually, no, I lied. There was not an NCAA because we were the first NCAA. I meant WNIT. There was like a string of like consistent WNIT bids, and they were having winning seasons. And then once COVID hit, I think that was just like they got shut down a lot. Whenever that COVID year was, they were shut down for like half the season.
Campus
and then
in the middle of St. Louis City.
Right.
Makes sense.
And then they just like the year before, after the whole COVID thing, like they just had a rough year. And so like unfortunately, when I got there, like, that was just kind of, I think, like, everyone was kind of just disappointed coming off that season.
Yeah.
And,
Do you take that personally, like, when they pick you to finish 12th?
Yeah, I mean, it is, like, because it's the coaches who are voting, and so, like, those are other coaches voting on how good they think your team is. And the preseason picks just came out for this year. We were picked 3rd this year, and some, like, I honestly, a lot of my teammates and maybe even myself, like, that's honest. I mean, we won the championship last year, so maybe not getting picked 1st is a little disrespectful if you think about it like that. But
do you need that chip on your shoulder?
Yeah, I think you do. I think our team last year, like, we really thrived as the underdogs. Like, I think that was ultimately why we were able to come and win the championship, because, like, we just all didn't like being the underdogs, and so, like, that was a big motivation.
You didn't like it. You liked it, but not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you liked it in that you wanted that to be fuel. That's how I am, at least.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say that.
Like, I want to be an underdog.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it where it's, like, disrespectful, but I also, I don't know, I feel like I always have been that. So it's like, call me the underdog. Let's see what happens.
Yes, it can definitely be a good thing. And, like, I agree. I don't think it was a bad thing for us. I just think it was, like, the root of kind of our motivation.
So you start out kind of slow in non-conference play.
Yes.
But then you get into conference play, and you guys get hot.
Yes.
Like, super hot.
Super hot.
What happened?
Everyone always asks this question, and, like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't
like,
want to ask the same question everyone else asks.
No. It's a good question, because it's kind of like when you look at our record, it's like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, you can see something happened.
Yes, of course. I just think, like, we were everyone always said, like, this year was going to be a rebuilding year for us. Like, new coach. Last year, yes. Like, new coach, like, new players, like, it was just going to be a rebuilding year. And so, like, obviously that non-conference record showed that it started as a rebuilding year. Like, it took us a while to figure out our offense, like, who played well together.
But is it fair to call SLU a mid-major?
Yes, mid-major.
As a mid-major, you're mostly playing larger conference schools.
Right.
Like, you're not playing down a whole lot.
Yeah.
You're playing largely teams that are better than you.
Agreed.
I mean, on paper.
Yeah, agreed. Yes, true. Like, we had a great non-conference slate. And while a lot of them weren't, like, P5s, like, we were playing, like, top of the line mid-majors, and, like, schools who won their conference last year, were at least at the top of their conference last year.
Angel, what's a P5? You know?
No, because I follow NBA, no college.
Power 5.
Oh, Power 5.
So, like, Big 10, Big 12,
yes,
Pac-10.
Sorry, yes.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to ACC.
Yes, and SEC.
SEC.
Yep, the P5. So, so I think when we got into conference season, like, I honestly couldn't really even tell you, like, what just, like, clicked for us in that game. But I think, like, we as a collective, like, just, like, slowly started figuring out, like, what worked for us, and, like, how to, like, cohesively, like, produce success. Like, I feel like maybe before we were kind of, like, more individually trying to produce success, and it just, like, or when we were trying to, like, work together, like, it just wasn't really flowing correctly. But we just, started having more and more games where, like, we were just playing, like, so well together, and, like, to each other's tendencies, and, like, playing like we knew each other.
Yeah.
Which is really where I think you find success as a team in basketball.
How many returning do you guys have this year?
We only lost one. Like, we graduated one. She was the NCAA leader in blocks last year.
Okay.
So she was a tough one to lose. But, we have everyone returning but her.
And so expectations are high. Picked to finish third.
Expectations are high, yeah. We talked about it, like, in practice. I mean, I mentioned us being the underdogs, like, last year, but we talked about in practice, like, how we're not the underdogs anymore. And so, like, that's just going to be a little different, like, situation to navigate, because, like, we're used to being the underdogs. And so it's going to be different, coming out as, top of the pack rather than, bottom of the pack looking to reach the top of the pack.
Let's talk about a couple highlights from last year.
Yeah.
A10 Rookie of the Week.
Yes.
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row.
What happened there?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Why do they call it Rookie of the Week? I just noticed that.
Rookie, because...
Why not Freshman of the Week?
It can be anyone,
any
first year.
So it's like a transfer or something.
Yeah. So, like, last year we had someone in the conference who had played volleyball for 4 years and then decided to play D1 basketball. And so she was technically a rookie, even though she was 23 years old.
Okay.
But I just think I kind of just figured, like I said earlier, that was kind of like the beginning of when I figured out what I was good at and what I could bring to this team, and I just did it really well for
And what is
2
that?
weeks in a row.
You talked about that. What is that?
Yeah, I think while it says, like, in high school I averaged, like, 9 rebounds, like, rebounding was never, like, a big thing for me. I never really placed much emphasis on it in high school until I got to college, and I realized I'm a pretty good rebounder. Like, I know this could really be a skill of mine. So I would definitely say rebounding. I've become a way better rebounder since I've gotten to college. And I think just, like, scoring in the ways that I'm, like, I don't know the correct way to say it, but, like, just scoring the ways, like, that I know how to score. And, like,
Is that, like, get, like, down in the paint?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I'm not really a back to the basket forward. Like, I shoot the three. I, have kind of a mid-range game. But when I do, like, I would say most of my, like, forward, post work is out of, like, the short corner and, like, face-up moves. And, like, that's what I'm good at, like, short jumpers, turnaround jumpers, fadeaways, pull-ups, like, stuff like that. And so, like, not trying to do too much with it, just, like, being really efficient, in the shots that I take.
So even though you're down there getting boards and you feel like that's a specialty, are they not a lot of offensive boards, mostly defensive?
I would honestly say, it's a mix. Actually, it kind of just depends on the game, like what you're kind of getting more of. But yeah, I would say it's a mix.
Okay,
a decent mix. Yeah, pretty 50-50.
You led all SLU freshmen in all categories, including minutes and points.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Proud of that.
Yeah, I am.
Want to build on it, obviously, but
right. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, it was one of our freshmen redshirted last year, so she didn't play. But so I don't want to place too much, like.
No, but I mean, we watched a couple games and you started. You started several games.
I did. I started starting about 10, maybe 8 games into the season. So yeah, I was starting. I started the whole conference slate. And I think honestly that was just like, honestly, I keep going back to this, but like that was just an example. Like when my coaches had the conversation with me of like I was going to start starting, like they were basically like, you're just doing what you do really well and you're being efficient while doing it. Like, and that's honest. Like I said, like that's kind of how you find success in a lot of situations in college basketball.
Yeah.
So.
We talked about the kind of the hot streak. You guys win 8 of your last 9 conference games. You go into the A-10 tournament and you win the damn thing.
Yeah.
Highest, I think I read it was not at the final, but the semi?
I think the championship was the highest scoring championship.
It was against UMass?
Yes, UMass.
It was in like the 90s, right?
Yeah, it was. We went to overtime, which helped.
Sure.
But, yeah, I mean, like.
You don't see that in a lot of college games, men or women.
Yeah, like that game for us, like, it was insane. Like, Julia Martinez, she's one of my teammates who was a second team all preseason pick this year, and she recorded a triple-double in that game. Because like it was awesome. Just insane. Like everyone was firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Like every single one.
For both sides.
Yeah, on both sides. Yeah. Good point. So it was a great game to like be a part of and probably watch. Like it was a really cool experience.
And where was that? As a neutral site, obviously.
Neutral site, Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that?
I'd never been to Wilmington before.
Sure,
it's
no
just
one has.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Who has? But it was a nice arena. It's actually the 76ers G League
cool.
facility that we played in. Yeah.
Let's throw up that picture of the Mia looking for her ring, which I know we're still waiting on. So that's you, and tell me the other 2 teammates here.
On the left is my teammate Abby. She plays at Youngstown State now, and then in the middle is my roommate Ashley.
Okay.
Yep.
And waiting on that ring. So that's the court at Delaware after you guys won.
Yes, it is.
And that's on. It's a great picture, which is why I wanted to use it. And that's on SLU's website, which is very cool. And then so automatic bid into the tournament. First one in SLU's history for the women's team.
Right. Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, like it.
I mean, what was it like on campus? Like, was it just?
I wouldn't say necessarily on campus, but like within the athletics department, like it was just such a big deal. I mean, like anytime any team gets to go to the NCAA tournament, period, it's a big deal.
Sure.
But like first one in school history, like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so like I think everyone in the athletics department was just so like you couldn't walk into Chaffetz without someone stopping you and asking you about it, and like
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cool to be a part of.
And then you draw Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
All the history.
All this.
I mean, can't have an easy path.
Yeah, right.
They're fourth in the tournament. You guys were, I guess that would make you 13.
Mm-hmm.
You go down to Tennessee. You hang for the first quarter. You guys hung for the first quarter.
We did.
I mean, it wasn't like, I forget what the score was, but I mean, I think you guys were within 4 or 5 points.
In the first quarter?
Yeah.
The first quarter we did hang with them. It was, yes, like, wow, like they were good. When we went and like but it also at the same time, like.
You're playing with house money at that point, though,
right.
I mean, no one expects you to beat Tennessee at Tennessee.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I said, we were the underdogs, and while that really didn't, like, we didn't end up beating them, and like still like an opportunity I wouldn't trade for the world. Like playing in, like Knoxville and Tennessee, like such the history that their women's basketball program has. Like I think we played in front of 10,000 people, maybe 8,000 people. Like that stadium was packed, and it was insane. Such a cool experience. And I think we really just like I don't think we really let that like scare us, but more of just like made us realize like, wow, like we're in the NCAA tournament playing against Tennessee. Like whether we win or lose, like of course we want to win, but like this is just such an unbeatable experience. Like either way.
I think that's one of those things though that helps you for going into this year. It's like you got a little taste of it, and you didn't win obviously, but now when you go back, there won't be so much like awe and like difference and like, oh my gosh, we made it. Like I think it'd be more business like, right?
More familiarity, more of, we've been here, we know the ropes of it. Right, because, like, I mean, last year, like, you could like, we were really, like, rookies. Like, I mean, you're innocent, like, a freshman coming in to play college basketball. Like, you've never been there before. So it is, like, in a sense, at the end of the day, it's just a basketball game, but it's a little more than that.
No, there's very few people that can say they played in an NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and so I do think, if and hopefully when we make it to the NCAA tournament this year, like I do think it'll be a little more of like, okay, we've been here before, we know what we need to do, and hopefully we can get a higher seed, so maybe we're,
don't have to play Tennessee.
Maybe we don't. Yeah, we maybe get a different.
I like that you said when.
Yeah.
I like that you said when. Yeah.
I mean,
any other obviously like the tournament winner gets the automatic bid. Any other A10 teams make it last year?
No, they didn't.
So it's pretty much a situation where you have to win the tournament.
Yeah, I think they call it, like last year, they call it like a one bid conference.
Yeah.
And while the men have had
it's not that way
in
with
the
men's.
past season, they've had some two. Last year was a one bid conference for the men too, but the years before they've had two
you
or
get
three.
Providence in there. You get
like Dayton, VCU.
Yep.
They've kind of been at the top. So yeah, it's been a multi-bid conference for the men. In the past years, but the women.
Richmond, I feel like Richmond's made it.
Yeah, it's possible. But the women, it's more typical that it's just a one bid.
Just one.
Yeah.
So win the tournament.
That's it. Exactly.
Actually, I mean, obviously you want to play well during the regular season, but that just is your tournament seeding, right?
Yeah. I mean, if it was based on how you played in the regular season, like we would not have been playing in Tennessee. Yeah. So like, anything can happen.
Something else interesting, and I don't know if you can even speak to this, but I was looking at the Tennessee score, and you hung the first quarter and you hung the third quarter too. What, like, is there anything to that? So it's like obviously right before the game and then coming out of halftime. Is there something to like, was there like a nice pregame speech or like a halftime speech or like?
I think of the first quarter, like I think that was just like us coming out. We had kind of at that point gotten pretty good at coming out. We struggled at the beginning of the year, like coming out strong and like, right off the bat, like attacking. And I think that kind of became a strength of ours by the end of the year. So I think that was just like us, like, adrenaline pumping, coming out, like kicking it off right off the bat, attacking them. And then, second quarter, like we just, shots weren't falling, like that kind of, I think, right, like pregame, right off the bat, adrenaline was kind of wearing off. And so That's when we struggled. And then, third quarter, I think exactly what you
Same
said.
thing.
We had a pretty good pregame speech. You know,
Yeah.
we're coming out excited to play. And, but by then, end of third quarter, we're not really there anymore. And so then,
Yeah.
what happened.
Well, again, you're playing with house money. I mean, I think just the experience and getting to do that is cool.
Of course.
And it's gonna prep you for this year when you make the tournament again.
Yes.
We talked about your role this year. I wanted to know if that had changed. Let's talk a little bit more about these conferences. So the big thing right now, and of course, college football usually dominates this talk because that's the big revenue driver in college athletics. And so a lot of this conference realignment is centered around the college football teams. So you've got, I was huge into college sports when I was in college and a little bit after, you become a dad and get a job and kind of something has to give, right? But I can't even tell you who's in what conference anymore. I mean, we're getting ridiculous with it. It used to be all geography based, right? And SLU has always been kind of in a weird, when I was in college, they were Conference USA, which was not geographically based. Actually, my college, Southern Miss, was in the same conference. That was a good conference. Cincinnati, Louisville, UCF was in that conference. Memphis was in that conference. Wow. It was a good conference all that time ago, 20 years ago. So, you've got USC or someone talking about playing in the Big Ten. Yeah. And it's this is nuts. These are student athletes. What's your thought on the travel? Because right now you're in the A10, which is Atlantic.
Yes.
So what is that like traveling? And you talked about missing classes and talk about that.
Yeah, of course. So, travel is, I honestly think that travel is the hardest part of being a student athlete. When you're not even just for, missing school purposes, but, not being home and on the road, it takes a toll on your body. It's tough to, be traveling. And sometimes we'll have 5, 6, 7-day travel weeks. So it's we're gone the whole week depending on,
You're playing a Thursday and a Saturday or something.
Or we'll go directly from one site to another, depending on locations of games. And it's tough. Missing school is tough. Missing your home is not being home is tough on your body, especially as an athlete when you're
sleeping in a hotel bed.
Expected to have peak performance all the time. In conference, like you mentioned, we're A10, which means all of our conference opponents are on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So we do fly to conference games, which is nice because obviously you're not driving. Some of those road trips would be 15 hours.
I didn't even think that was a question. I just assumed that you flew.
Yeah, well, not everyone, not all conferences do that. We're really lucky to have the opportunity to do that.
Well, I guess if you're in Virginia in the A10 or Richmond or whatever, you probably aren't flying everywhere.
Right, exactly. You're a lot closer.
Yeah.
But we're lucky that we do get to fly. But these teams that you're living on the East Coast and you're traveling constantly to the West Coast or vice versa, or I know, I think Stanford. I want to say Stanford's moving to the ACC next year. Or
the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I mean,
Northern California.
Yes, that's West Coast to East Coast.
Yeah.
That's across the country.
Yeah.
So it's insane and it's tough on the athletes. It is. So I don't really know why they're doing it.
How are your academics? How are your academics? How are your studies? Do you do well in school?
I do well in school.
Okay.
I have a 4.0. So
Look at that. Okay.
Yes, I'm like I said, I'm pretty serious about school. I have, like I said, I want to go to grad school. I'm thinking about going to law school. So GPA is important, and yeah.
Well, so that's what I was going to ask. What's life after college basketball? Is there more basketball in your future? Is that possible? Do you just want to play 4 years and be done?
I don't want to say it's not a possibility. A lot of people ask me this, and I honestly always say, I'm just going to need to see where I'm at, at the end of my senior year. I dealt with a, season-long injury last year, which was, hard. And, injuries are hard, and they happen in college basketball, and your body wears down. And, I mean, I could see myself getting to the point where I'm a senior, and I feel maybe I need to go play overseas. I don't feel like I'm done with my career yet. I have mentors that played overseas professionally. And while you are not the pay isn't the greatest overseas, and there's still a lot of equality that needs to be done here and overseas for women's basketball. Like, it is a good opportunity for women who, you know, I mean, the WNBA is so small. Only, like, it's...
How many teams are there?
They just announced, I think there's 12. I want to say
Okay.
12. They just announced a new team, the Bay Area.
Oh.
It's going to be like a Golden State
Sure.
version of a WNBA team. It's coming out, or it's like officially like releasing, I think, in 2025. But, I mean, there's just so little compared to the NBA. There's not enough, like, flat out, there's not enough spots for women in the WNBA. And so going overseas is a good opportunity if you decide to go that route.
And is that the same, like, they have the same level as, like, because you see a lot of college men go over there, too. Like, they have the same leagues for women over there?
They do,
so you
yeah.
play in Spain, you could play in France.
Yeah,
okay.
One of my mentors that trained me growing up, she was a professional basketball player for like 7 or 8 years. She played in Poland, Australia, Finland. Like, she was everywhere, and she got some really cool opportunities. Yeah.
I would recommend that.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my big regrets is not traveling after college, and that's a thing. I think that's a generational thing. I don't know if you've noticed that, but, like, it seems like your generation is really good at that. At, like, taking that year off, what do they call it, like a gap year?
Yes, a gap year.
And, like, going to do something, and I just didn't grow up like that. Like, it was like, go to college and then go get a job.
Right.
Because you're not living in our house.
Right.
And it's like, okay. And so that's what I did. And, like, it's fine. It's whatever. But, yeah, like, to have that year or 2 years or whatever to just take a job where you're making whatever.
Right.
Like, where you could even work remote and travel.
Yeah, I totally.
And you have some sort of brand deal. I saw you post about it. Tell me what that is.
Yeah, so it's with an app called Doso app. My coach knows the psychologist who, it's a mental health app. So it's essentially you go on and you can listen to some, we call it mindfulness. We do mindfulness as a team, and with this app. And you go on and you just, like, listen to these recordings, and it kind of just gets you in the right headspace. You know, makes you, it's very focused on, like, present thinking and being in the present, working through, you know, like, anxiety and, like, you know, pressure, stuff like that. And so they offered to do an NIL with a lot of us on the team. Code, if you want the app, code.
Why don't you pitch it right to that camera? Tell them where to go.
App Doso, code Mia20 for 20% off your first year of Doso recordings. But it's a really cool tool, and we use it, like, personally. My coach, like I said, knows Stu, who is, like, the psychologist behind the app, who creates the recordings, and so she's close with him. And we do mindfulness, like, once a week as a team. So it was a cool opportunity. Yeah.
Doso is D-O-S-O?
D-O-S-O, yeah.
Doso, and then Mia20.
Mia20.
M-I-A-20.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Congrats. I think by the time this airs, it's going to be underway. But you've got a real cool thing coming up. Speaking of travel, the North Shore Showcase in Hawaii.
Yes.
Have you been to Hawaii?
I've never been to Hawaii.
I haven't either. Do you get some free time there? Like, is it just go and play?
We will get some free time. We're going early, as to give us a little extra free time.
Yeah.
I think we're there for 6 days, and we play 3 of those days. So we'll have a decent amount of time to spend hanging out in Hawaii.
And is that in Honolulu?
Oahu.
Okay.
Oahu, yeah.
That's cool. And then do you know your schedule already for the games?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you're going early, or you're staying late? Or
We're going early. We're leaving right after our last game, which is on the last day. So we're going early.
And so you're guaranteed 3 games?
Yes.
No more, no less?
Games. Yep. That's how many we'll play. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Even if you win?
Even if we win, lose, it's everyone
games.
plays everyone. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And then conference play opens up on my birthday, December 30th.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's get a win for me.
Right. Yeah.
What are you looking forward to this season? Like, do you have any bold predictions? Like, do you have any personal goals?
I mean, obviously, I hope we can make it back to the tournament. Like, personally, like, I just want to, contribute. Contribute to the team in a way that gets us to the NCAA tournament. I think that's kind of what anyone wants. But, I don't, feel that I need to do all this, all that, have a really flashy season. But I just want to, be a contributing factor to a team that makes a deep NCAA run.
That's awesome. And is there a way, or what's the best way to follow the Lady Bills? Is there like a TV network? Is there streaming somewhere?
Unfortunately, a lot of our games are on ESPN Plus, which
Okay.
you do have to pay for. We do
Gotcha.
have, I think, 2 games this year televised on CBS, so we'll be on that. But yeah, ESPN Plus, I would say, is the most like surefire way to see us play.
Obviously, they can always go down to Shea Fitz. I think I told you
course.
earlier, my wife took my 2 girls down there. My wife's a SLU alum.
Yeah.
And so they go, not a lot, but they'll go to soccer games and stuff like that.
Yes.
My kids love that stuff. But they went to one of the games and just had a blast.
Yeah.
It's a cool environment. Shea Fitz is a great place to watch a game.
Of course, yeah.
So just go support in person.
Agreed. We'd
That's the
love to
move.
come have you support, and we, like kids always have a great time because we do autographs after every home game.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we'll sign anything. Like kids will bring everything and like anything for us to sign. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Do you have like team pictures that you can hand out too? Or
we have little player cards that the kids love,
so
like
cool.
with our like fun facts on them and like our pictures, and they like collect them like little trading cards. So it's
Yeah.
cool. It's a cool environment.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, good luck this season.
Thank you so
We'll be
much.
cheering you on from the 636, and we'll come up with we need like a gang sign or something when you hit like the game-winning shot. You can
Yeah.
flash like the 636 or
Okay,
something.
right. Yes.
Next time you come back
Good
on,
marketing.
we want to see the ring.
Okay,
You
of
get that.
course. I'll have to bring it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Of course. Thank you.
That was really fun. Like, I'm not kidding you. That was one of my favorite interviews ever.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
It
I
was
mean,
good?
I'm not saying like it was good, like whatever, but
I
that was
a
really
little
fun.
Nervous. I was.
You
sure
couldn't
my
tell.
answers were
You
good.
did great.